Okay? So, good times and bad times are the roller coaster of life. They're bound to happen. But those of us who are lucky in this moment to not be experiencing the low of the roller coaster, then must also use this opportunity to dive in deeply into God's light. You see, you must not wait for it is said that the wise ones learn from the lives of others. You see, so we must learn from that which we hear from our brothers and sisters in the world, and we must learn to remain so strong in the Atma Jyoti, in God's light within, that the world, when it comes, and it will come, Maya will come, you see, then we seem to have learned how to remain as much as we can. Also, I'm saying that all of us will fall for it. At least this one cannot say that he never falls for Maya's tricks. On a daily basis, I fall. So, it's true. So, on a daily basis, I fail, I fall. You see, but the idea is to, like Hanuman Poddar ji said, गिर गए हो तो उठ जाओ. It seems very simplistic, but actually is very beautiful, because you notice the difference between how children play, they fall and they get up almost as if nothing happened, and what happens to us as grown-ups. You see, we think a lot more, who put this here, you see, there's no concern for public safety, all this happens. The child who's playing just gets back up. You see? So when we fall for the tricks of Maya. Then the idea is not to make yourself feel guilty and worthy, make the project to realize God, to come to self-realization seem futile, because that's what the mind wants you to do. But to just, when you notice it, return to God, return to the truth. And many times it will feel like a war. There are other times where it seems beautiful and we are full of bhakti and full of ease and contentment. The times that life seems to be squeezing our throat. You see, in both times we have to learn to return to His presence, to His refuge, because He is the only safety for all of us. What is pride? Pride tells you to take charge. Take charge of your life. Carpe diem. Seize the moment. Do all these great things. You see? But where does it all lead to? We know where it is going. So, humility is the pathway to God. Tulsidaji, I've been reading, that's why I'm quoting him so much, that he said something very beautiful. He said that the biggest block to come to God is pride. मैं हूँ, I am somebody, I am somebody, I am this one, I am that one. All this one, that one, billions of them have come and gone. Nothing happened. So we must follow the advice of the sages and just return to as much humility as possible. Know that in front of God, who is the Lord of this universe, who's created trillions of these as if they are playthings. He plays with worlds, universes as if they are Lego bricks. You see? In front of Him, we are nobody. So we must feel blessed that His presence is available to us. And then, of course, the greatest gift is that in the Gyan, in the true self-knowledge, which is gifted by this holy Atma within ourselves, we recognize that we are one and the same as God. There is no duality in reality. You see? But be very careful, because this is where the crouching tiger of pride is really waiting. You see? Say, yes, but I am one with God. Huh? So what if Ram is Narayan? I am also God. Who does that sound like? Ravan, okay? So, is he saying something wrong? No, he isn't. Is he? But he's taking it at the wrong place. He's putting it to himself pridefully as a body mind, because if he was just speaking from the fragrance of the truth, then he would speak like the greatest sage. It is the same thing that Ashtavakra would have said, or Ribhu would have said. But when it is taken to be specialness, when it is taken to be about me, rather than about that, only that is that. You see? So I am that, but only as that. But I am not that as this. When this takes a hold of that, that is when the trouble starts. So these words, of course, will sound very strange, difficult, but to express the ineffable, you have to find some pointers to try and say. So in the light of the Atma within, you recognize yourself to be that, as Ashtavakra said, that in which that boundless ocean in which the arcs of the universes come and go. Literally, you find that you are that to which this dream universe, this dream appearance is just another coming and going. But you cannot use that in your name and form. You cannot say, I have found out who I am. What have you found? So that claimant of it is not it. So we have to be very careful of this Advaita pride, the pride of spiritual insights. So that's why I say that the me that remains even after the highest insight, and even the greatest sages have reported to us that the tiniest tanmatra of me still remains. So that me should constantly be immersed in the bhakti of God, in the servitude of God. Otherwise that one can quickly produce a new Ravan out of you, which knows all the right things, but now is using it very specially, conveniently for egoic specialness and pride. That is where Nanak ji is pointing to us, Hukum Rajai Chalna, Nanak Likhya Naal is very important. That we must follow his will, his command. That is the only doorway to true freedom, to true salvation. You see? So all of you, if you are truly deepening in your spirituality, you will see the pull of Maya also on a daily basis. Come, like that. You see, left. God can wait for later. You see, where is he going? I have more important things to do right now. You see, every day it tempts us with something. So we were just talking about this at home as well, that when you start to see yourself getting happy, peaceful in spiritual things, you see, then know that Maya is losing its grip on you. But when you're just repelled every time there's some talk of like listening to a bhajan or listening to a satsang or reading something written by a sage, something being pointed to God, if you want to just finish all the other work first, and then the mind makes the excuse that, okay, I'll come to this when I have some peace, but right now I have these important things to do. You see? Then know that Maya has you. See? Maya has you because it is not even logical. What is the most important thing to do? When Kabirji said, Kal kare so aaj kare so ab, was he talking about your email? What is he talking about? See, he's telling us, Avsar bar bar nahi aave also he's told us that the opportunity will not come again and again. And also he has told us, don't postpone. You see, in the guise, the Maya never comes and says, this is unimportant, but maybe you should do it. Maya always comes and says, this is so important. Your life depends on it. You see, so leave God for the moment. You see, He is not going anywhere. He is Dayalu, Kripalu, merciful, loving. You see? So He is not going anywhere. He'll wait for you. You finish your important things. And this is what we hear from the world as well, isn't it? Do your important work first. So do your important work first. I agree. But be clear about what is important. How to do the important work? Come to Atma Gyan, come to self-knowledge, capital K, using your inquiry, don't get caught up in the false, remain open and empty, don't identify with anything, don't believe your thoughts which claim that you are somebody, or unceasing prayer, nirantar jap, or both, or either, whatever is seeming good for your temperament at the moment. But your focus should not be on Maya, it should be on God. Whichever context you come from, whether it is a Gyan tradition, whether it is a Bhakti tradition, whatever your belief system may be about God, in one way or the other, we are hoping to be in His refuge, isn't it? Either to recognize our oneness with Him, our non-duality, Advaita with Him, or to find place at His feet in Vaikunt or whatever our belief system may be. But in either case, our focus has to be upon Him. Then He will show us the way, He will show us the truth, He will show us His light, and He will show us that all these are possible and true. So you don't have to go policing any brand of bhakti, any brand of jnana, because consciousness itself by definition is everything. And we limit it by saying it has to be only like this, it can't be like that. And that which is aware even of consciousness, the pure witnessing, the eternal one, we cannot box that in any conceptual understanding anyway. Beyond anything that can be said or heard, beyond anything that can be understood, is the nature of the absolute reality, which is yourself. So whatever pathway to God, whatever steps the Guru has taught you, you must follow with everything at your disposal. And the true Guru is in your heart. The worldly Guru is just provisional. He is pointing you, or she is pointing you to the Sadguru presence within. So all of Satsang is just to expand the discipleship of the Atma. You're just expanding the discipleship of the Sadguru presence within your heart. And once you learn to listen to that, then your life is come to its true fruition, to its true value. But if you waste this life and never come to the discipleship of the Atma within, then you were born, where you can claim to be born, but it is almost like you were dead and you continue to be dead and you die. But you have a chance at true life because the light of life is within your heart. Your spiritual core, your spiritual center is the heart. And in your faith, in your humility, in your love, in your kindness, in your compassion, you learn to follow the nudges, the murmurings initially from the Atma within. And then more and more, the Atma's reality will seem much more obvious than the reality of the world. So the point of this external satsang is for us to reach our internal satsang, our inner satsang, where the holy presence, the holy light is burning in our heart to bless us, to guide us.
Father, there are no, the one which you mentioned, Father, like big ambitions or bigger goals, or I want to be or want to name. Those are not at all the problem now.
Those are not a problem.
Not at all a problem. And that's even doesn't even come once in a week also in mind. Whether it is any achievement or whether to be in good in others' view and all. But still, the small things which we just now mentioned, that just fall down and get up.
Yes.
If you are fallen down, just get up.
Yes.
Okay. That doesn't happen. The small things, even like you will analyze as exactly what you said. Who did it? Why I am there? Start thinking. Has anybody seen me or something? So those are the two different things to be handled separately, Father. Like one big one is gone, the smaller one.
No, then the smaller ones become the big one, isn't it? So the big ones are gone. So you're saying the temptation of ambition, chasing the treadmill, all of this rat race doesn't seem to have so much pressure on you. It's not taking you away from God's presence. But these small things have come. You see? Then when these small things are being noticed, then these are the big ones. You see? When these also get lighter and lighter, then there'll be subtler things. You see? They'll come. So it gets subtler and subtler and smaller and smaller. But it's like on a daily basis, I'm recognizing things which show up here. You see? And I realize that all these things were still hidden. All these conditions, all these temptations from the mind to pick up grievances, to pick up resentment, to pick up the why question instead of the who question, are still present in us. So the why me, what makes us go why me, still there, and it exposes itself, it reveals itself. So, but the more and more you start to realize what an exchange you are making, the more difficult it will be for the mind to tempt you. Because when we are saying God's presence, we mean it very literally. So God's presence is in your heart. So Krishna, Jesus, Ram, Allah, whatever you want to call, Vaheguru, He is sitting in your heart. Now, if you take it fully literally, then okay, but because we're so used to taking the world literally and not our inner space literally, just imagine that he's sitting in this room. Krishna is sitting with you in this room. He's sitting on that couch. So now what has to happen outside this room for you to leave the room? When you look at it that way, then it seems like I would be really foolish to leave it. Even if there's a earthquake happening, Krishna is with you, why you have to worry? So this is literally the truth about our life. If you are in His presence, why worry about whatever else? So just stay, but that requires a leap of faith. That is the main leap of faith, and we will constantly wrestle with this throughout our life. Just the topics of the wrestling will change. Because something will keep coming saying, no, leave it. Go to the world, take it to be real, don't be foolish. Faith seems like foolishness. That's why it seems like a risk. So all of us want to have a very comfortable faith. Just a small boundary line, make a pie chart of our life and say spiritual box. उसमें इतना करेंगे, that is enough for our faith. But when it comes to, when we start to realize how literal the meaning of surrender is that we have to surrender no matter what may be seeming to be at risk, then so initially it can happen that we feel that our family is at risk, our work is at risk. These big fears can come from us and from those around us. But after a while you see that it's fine. Most of us feel like it's going on, it's going on. So then later it becomes about, this, but you are right about this, you are wrong about this, why do you have to be sheepish, why do you have to, all this kind of, the invitation will keep changing and they'll become subtler and subtler. And you realize that how many conditions we are still holding on to. There's so many conditions. It should not be this way, it should not be that way, it should only be like that, how could you do this to me? All these things will come, isn't it? So we are learning to, in our faith to God, say, if He is with you, then what's the problem? So how literal is it? Is it as literal as Krishna holding your hand right now and sitting? That is what the question
is. Yes, you advised, even the small things.
You're blocking, I feel, the mic.
As you advised, even the small things are given up. Earlier, everything is planned, right? In the morning, you start, okay, at 7:20 I will reach, the driver will come, he will. Now the small things which also started just leaving without planning, and everything happens, whether you try or you don't try, it just happens in that way only. It's happening. I don't know, maybe right or wrong, I don't even see maps nowadays, where should I take, what route I should take. Just
all that is not my advice.
I know, but the tension which starts with that is all gone, Father. So
That's good. That's good. That's very good.
Yeah.
Whatever makes us live in that faith, live in that trust of His presence in our heart. Now, the good news is that it's either completely not true or it has to be completely true, because there cannot be a halfway God. You see, so if either God is all there is and He is the all-intelligent supreme one whose will is running this whole universe, or there is no God. You see, now you've taken a bet that there is a God, you come to spirituality, you come to satsang long enough. You see, now that then faith, you have to test the full faith of it, isn't it? There's no point saying, okay, now I'll still take this onto myself. You see? Now, what that means, and why I said that I'm not saying don't look at maps, is that as an instrument of God, whatever needs to happen in the world can also unfold. We cannot take a position also that I will not do or I will do, because that seems more spiritual to do. How to be spiritual? To follow spirit moment to moment.
And as you mentioned, Father, you can literally see more and more Maya of yourself, how it's trying to. Even I sometimes take pride in saying that my Maya is stronger. And
My Maya is stronger.
yeah, it's like it's attacking me like anybody, nobody else would be attacked like that. What I'm been attacked. So even that pride comes, Father. So
Everyone feels that, but you know, if we were to start sharing stories of what everyone has gone through, I can guarantee you that each one of us will feel like we have gone through the least. Our Maya has been the least. But we feel like it's especially difficult for us. You see? Look at all these people, they don't have jobs, they can just sit and pray all day, it's so easy. I have this team to manage and you know, all this stuff. You know, isn't it similar to what you may have? So, but Maya is the greatest con artist for everybody. You must never feel like the circumstances of life are the worst. It's just not true, actually. In fact, grace has been so kind. Because why I'm saying we must not feel that is because we get into that mode of ungratefulness. You see? Instead, we must say that I have a chance of living in God's light. Wow. I don't live in Kashi, I don't live in Vrindavan, I don't live in Jerusalem, I don't live in any holy place. You see? I had a regular life, regular upbringing, regular job, regular family, regular city, and yet I have a chance of living in God's light. What grace is that? What mercy is that? Always find how blessed we are. That's why it's so beautiful that Hanuman Poddarji said. He said, it is so good for us. I'll say in Hindi first and then I'll translate. So he said, हमारे लिए तो इतना अच्छा है कि भगवान न्याय नहीं करते, दया करते हैं. It is so good for us, so beautiful for us that God is not just, He is merciful. So when you hear it first, you feel like, but of course God is just. Justice itself comes as a concept itself from Him. You see, like humans would not have a universal notion of justice unless God put it in our heart, isn't it? So, but His mercy is stronger than His justice, at least towards us, because if He was to be just with us, then how would we be sitting with the opportunity to spend a life in His light? That has to be His mercy. It has to be His love for us. The amount He's held us every step of the way, the amount He's led us holding our finger every step of the way is actually stunning. If you really look at it, you'll see, you'll see how stunning it is. So we must never get into that trap of saying, why has he made it so difficult for me only? These subtle things, this is Maya. This is where it hides. Because it can seem humble enough. I'm just lamenting at the state of my life. See, it can seem humble enough. But actually, even in that is hidden the ego. Even in that can be hidden. Oh, why me like this? So good to keep noticing all of these things. We are part of a Sangha. In the Sanghas, we often become competitive. We say, oh, why is he getting God first? Why is she getting God first? Why not me? You see? But if you were to really step back and look at it, what are we saying? You see? God, we are talking about God. His intelligence, His love, His justice, we can never question. He knows exactly what is needed at every moment, much more than we can ever know. So that's what I mean. If there is a God, then it must be all the way. It can't be that, oh, there is a God, but He actually doesn't know this much about my life. He's only slightly interested. Like I'm just a side character in the story. Like that. No, He knows every breath you take, every heartbeat. He knows us much better than our mind ever could. That is the God that you meet in your heart. That is the God that is present in your heart altar, in your heart temple. So all these small things are just being brought to His light and they're being cleaned up so we can return to the innocence of a child and be with Him in our heart. They're all true knowledge, Atma Gyan, self-realization, but love, kindness, gratitude, faith, all these sprout from there. And you really start to notice more and more what I was saying half jokingly that day, that with God it is always 100 सुनार की एक लोहार की. It means that we may try with everything we have, you see? But till His hand doesn't move, and when it moves, then it just moves. It takes care of everything this way or that way. So all our effort, all our power, potential that we think we have, we must exert it towards God realization, to come to Him, because you make that effort and then your life is taken care of by Him. And most of you must have started seeing evidence of that. You see, you just turn towards Him and how things on the outside just seem to happen. The same things which would seem like, oh, this needs so much effort, this needs this so much to be done, somebody just calls you. See, I'm not selling any easy cheat codes to life. Many times life can seem very challenging also when it has to squeeze us out. But many of the things, by God's grace, just start to move very beautifully. That would have taken so much more effort seemingly in the past in the human mode. God just takes care of it. But you can't use it selfishly like that. Your quest must be sincere for God. You can't say, okay, I'm tired of this thing. Now I heard this good deal by Ananta. So I just have to like bow down a bit, do like that, like that. Where is the miracle? Where is the miracle? So we can't fool God. God knows when it's just selfish and when it is authentic. So please don't mistake God to be some sort of like scientific phenomena. Like consciousness can sound like just a function of the brain or something like that. Or awareness can sound like just like a mode of perception or something like that. All life, all intelligence, what life means, what love means, what truth means, all of that comes from this living being called God, called Ram, called Krishna, called Jesus, called Allah. He is a living being. She is a living being. So great example of this. I saw the other day. I was watching this series on Sri Mirabai. So a great sage came to. She was just a child. A great sage comes to her house, and he is very attached to his murti of Krishna. His great sage. So what happens is that Mirabai starts playing with that murti, and she starts to fall in love with it, and she says, "My Krishna is here. I finally found my Krishna, and he's here." Now this sage, this Swamiji, is very attached to that murti, so he tells the parents, "Please give my murti back." So they keep bringing it back, but the murti itself keeps going back to Srinira's room. So then this Swamiji is getting very upset. And this child is stealing my murti. I love it. It's my true treasure. It is the murti of my God, my Lord. How can she take it from me? So then what has happened is that he's getting upset and he wants to leave the house, and he tries to lift the murti, and he cannot lift it. It becomes so heavy. You see? Then he starts lamenting because he's had it for so long and he's so attached to it. You see? Then he says, he prays to God. Then God comes and God says to him, I'm going to be here because although you had a lot of faith, you had a lot of devotion, you see, you still considered me to be a murti of God. But she considered me to be God himself. I feel like that's a great teaching about, in the West there may be this idea about idol worship and who are these foolish people who can pray to rocks and stones and say that is God. So like Anandamayi Ma has told us that if we have faith, then a rock is Shiva, and if we don't have faith, then even Shiva is a rock. So because Sri Mirabai's faith was so much that she felt like it is actually God with her, and she was the rightful owner of that. But even though our faith may be high and we may say this is a great representative, a murti of God, it is still not enough. Such a beautiful story. So the idea is to feel God's presence everywhere, outside and within. Experience His presence, experience His light. If you know that He is always with you, your life will be fully transformed. So if we're completely new to the quest for discovering God, it may sound very intimidating to say I have to replace myself, you see, because the lane is too narrow. They can either be God or me. And if I have to replace myself fully so that the lane can be left free for God, that may sound very intimidating. So if you're new, then you have to start somewhere. Start somewhere wherever resonates with your heart the most. If it is listening to bhajan, singing bhajan, start there. If it is doing some japa, start there. If it is to do self-inquiry, start there. If it is to do pranayam, whatever practice. As long as your intention is to find God, you see, we have to flower the intention so that one day we can become one-pointed, wholehearted in our intention. We have to water that intention to surrender our life to God. Even though it may seem very intimidating to begin with, we have to take a first step. Start somewhere. Any aspect of yourself you start giving to God, then He will show you what to do next. Even if it is on the outside, you say all this antakarna and stuff is too difficult, I don't know what it is. How do I take God within sounds too difficult. I don't know what that is. So then just make an altar for yourself on the outside. That will lead you to your heart altar. Start. And whatever cultural background, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just whatever you consider to be God's reminder, that will remind you of your own faith, remind that is good enough. So start praying in this small way, then He will show you what to do next. So you've given some part of the outside world to Him. Then you may start saying that I'll start saying the prayer in my mind, so you've given part of your mind to Him. If just to keep it in the mind seems too difficult, then use your mouth, use your words, say the prayer out loud, sing a bhajan, then you've given part of your body to Him. Then you say, okay, I will learn servitude, I will follow only His will. So how to judge whether it is His will or my will? That your intellect will help you. You will start getting the viveka as to start separating your selfishness and His will. So then you've given part of your intellect to Him. See? And then as you are surrendered in this way, more and more of yourself that you give to Him, the more and more that part which can only happen by grace will start to happen for you. See? Because you cannot say, I will do this, then the light of presence will start shining in my heart. See? You can maximum say, I will, like I was saying the other day, I will go under all of these layers of the upper perception, of the body sensations, of my thoughts, of my emotions, and I will go under all of that and just rest open and empty over there. Just like that I'll be, isn't it? After that you can't say His presence has to reveal itself to me in my being, in my heart. That we can't force, that's His grace. But already in doing this much itself, you've transformed your life. And if you have faith that He is loving and merciful, it will happen. But we cannot force His hand because He knows best. He knows when you will become arrogant. He knows when what will lead to more love through you in the world. So we have to trust at that level. And as you are handing over everything that seems to be yours in this world to Him, don't don't believe that Maya is just going to sit back and watch. So the day you decide to start praying, the Maya will attack your mind and say this. So much resistance will come. If you go back a few months, how were all of you in the first 2 weeks of ADS? Do we have to? What is this? All this resistance was what? Maya attacking your mind. All the resistance. So using your intellect to say, oh, but why like this? What is this? So don't, in the world things may start changing, in so seeming big way, good ways, which may be that, oh, perfect relationship partner shows up from somewhere. So many years you looked, no partner showed up, or showed up but they were not perfect. And then suddenly you just decided to turn to God, this one is there. So you feel like, oh, or then you're suddenly, I remember going to the first retreat with Guruji, and this was after I had that hot seat experience. And I was sitting in the retreat, and I was just sitting over there, and my mind is telling me, you leave this today, you don't need it. And this great business idea is there. Your company will become a unicorn, and then you can organize retreats. You can just call Guruji, he can live in Tiruvannamalai with you. If your company becomes a unicorn, just leave. And somewhere I knew, because the ideas were seeming so good. They're like, for years I've been entrepreneurial, why didn't I get these ideas before? First day of the retreat, sitting there, he's saying things, I'm hearing these business ideas. Start this, start that, start. So next day, he was kind enough to invite me on a morning walk. So I told him, I spotted this trick of the mind that on the first day of the retreat with you, it is telling me these great ideas, seemingly great, which I'm sure are nonsense, and they turned out to be fully nonsense, of course. And but on that day, they were seeming so compelling. So Maya will play with your mind, she will play with the world, everything will be used to pull you out of this. It will say, do this later, this can wait. So all these things I tell you are from all the foolishness that has happened here. So all this, and Guruji of course said that that's exactly how the mind will play. Yes, sure. So so as more and more of yourself you want to devote to Him, be aware of Maya's tricks, and it will attack everything. It will attack satsang, it will attack the teacher, it will attack the words. It will say, oh, everything is changed now. It will make some nonsense excuses. Don't fall for these tricks. And that is why the sages have told us over and over that Maya is the greatest con artist, and that you won't get this opportunity again and again. So as you're making this leap from the way of the head to the way of the heart, know that all this world play will try to get in the way. And it seems very convincing. Some of you are noticing, isn't it, that how the mind offers you something, first thing in the morning it will tell you, okay, now today you have to do this, you have to get this done, you have to get, but it doesn't say today you have to spend with God. You say, no, get that, get this, get this. So it tries to take ownership of the day, so that another day is gone. And like this, another day, another day, another day, another day is the end. That's the whole game plan. It's very simplistic actually. It's simplistic in its broad design, but in the intricacy of what it can offer, it is the things it can offer you in the guise of spirituality. in the guise of seeming spirituality, it will offer you so many distractions. They do like this. It is spiritual also. It is. It will help you also in the world. It will offer you these things like that, just to distract you. But it's not coming from the heart. It is not your Atma guiding you. It is your mind's tricks. So, a true disciple of the Atma has to be willing to risk everything in their life to follow God's presence within. I've quoted Kabirji a lot. I haven't said this in many weeks. So he also said, "O beloved, follow me to the path of God. Otherwise, go fall in a ditch." I can imagine that the sages also got frustrated from time to time. The ditch is what? This endless roller coaster of egoic pride and egoic downfall, and then specialness, and then some other narrative, and then some other narrative. But no actual peace, no actual contentment. Of trying to win in the eyes of the world, but to have more and more loathing for ourselves within. That is the way of the world. And that part is very important. Tulsidas ji said, you may learn to dress like a sadhu. You may even learn to speak the sweetest sounding words. But if inside you are hard-hearted, you cannot find God. Which means that you may fool the entire world, but you can't fool God. So, if you're not truthful, kind, loving in your heart, but you have mastered the outer world, which is what I call the difference between the audience of many versus the audience of one. Most of us live for the audience of many. But those who are truly coming to the truth see that the audience is always only one. The one who is watching us from the inside. If we learn to live for that one, then he will guide you so beautifully. Your life will be full of love and peace and contentment and kindness. But if you live for the audience of the outside, whoever it may be, then you'll only get distracted and caught in Maya again and again. So we can ask ourselves this question, what is this for? As I speak all these words, what is my intention? I can ask myself, what am I saying all this for? Is it truly for God? Or is it because I want to look impressive, I want to sound good? And if I'm falling for those tricks, then I'm just fooling myself. And it's not that I don't. I do fall for these tricks. But this is the constant learning that we have to do. Is it truly for God? Spiritual seekers often fall into this trap that if they make others feel like they're truly spiritual, then they're actually becoming spiritual. We've seen that in the larger sanghas also. We see sometimes that we need to, as long as we can present ourselves in a spiritual way, as long as the world thinks, or even they think, as long as the teacher thinks they're being spiritual, then they're fine. But they've forgotten about the true one who's sitting with them. So it doesn't matter if the whole world thinks you're a piece of mud. But if your intention is to be with God, if your actions are coming from your heart, if you truly want to come to His refuge and you're thirsting for the truth, then all this doesn't matter. So many times the life of a spiritual one can seem completely topsy-turvy to the world and also to themselves at times. But you have to go through all that, all these challenges. That's why the spiritual life is not easy, and it is not meant to be easy. I don't want to give anybody the impression that this project is going to be very easy. The project is very simple. Follow God. Follow God. It's very simply said, but it's not moment to moment not easy to live. So it's very difficult. Possibly the most difficult thing that you will endeavor to do, but that is how your faith will be strengthened. That you actually learn, okay, can I hand this over to God? Then, and it works out. Then you develop that trust, your faith deepens. Then you learn that you can hand over everything and come to true Sharnagati, true surrender. Otherwise, what will happen, as is happening with most in this modern type of spirituality, is that we'll fall in the trap of thinking we are spiritual. We'll have a very lip service, armchair spirituality, but we're not risking a grain of sand. And the concept that you have to risk something to come to God sounds strange, because isn't spirituality meant to bring me some happiness and peace and joy? He's saying it's going to make it difficult. So that is not what I call spirituality. Spirituality is self-sacrificing, not self-serving. Yes, some peace will come, some love will come, some joy will come as byproducts. But there will be also other times where it will seem like a full-on battle. Like you are Arjun in the Mahabharata, it will seem like that. You see, and you don't know what to do. Whether to pick up the bow, whether to run, whether to get killed, you don't know what to do. You see? There you have to learn to start trusting, find Krishna within you. This is what makes a true devotee, a true disciple. Is it possible to die peacefully and stupid? And stupid. You can also. Many times you will die with a lot of suffering, struggling, if you are stupid, mostly. But also you can fool yourself. No? You can also fool yourself. So the idea is not peace. Or not the peace that we think anyway. Not the peace that we think comes from after a few rounds of a spiritual practice. That is just ephemeral. These things can be aids, they can be tools. But the most important thing is your intention. Is your intention God or is your intention me? Is it God for me or is it me for God? Until your intention doesn't fully switch from God must come to me and help me for me to whatever is here of this me, whatever this me is for God, we will never become true devotees, true disciples. So it's very difficult, it is also very unpopular, this kind of spirituality. But that is, authentically speaking from my heart, that is what I have discovered in this foolish life that I have led. I feel that this at least is authentic. So till the question doesn't switch out from मुझे क्या मिला तो मैं क्या दे रहा हूँ या दे रही हूँ, till then we have not even boarded the bus of spirituality. If it doesn't switch, I'll translate from the question of what am I getting? Because we got so accustomed in this world to getting. What is my return on investment? ROI. To what am I giving really? How am I serving God? And I also forget from time to time. So I put a wallpaper on my phone one day saying, how am I serving God? Because everything in the world teaches you to be self-serving. Okay, what are you getting? You went to Satsang, what did you get? You see? What did you learn? What did you feel? But nobody hardly ever asks, so what did you sacrifice? What did you give up for God? What did you risk? Did you risk your pride? Did you risk your plan? What are you risking? You want God, you want Him to appear, to reveal Himself in your heart. He's already there, but you want the revelation, the holy revelation which the sages had. But are you giving to God what they gave? Or even a millionth of that in terms of devotion, faith, love, gratitude? So very humbly I want to tell you all, it won't work like that. At best, you'll have some spiritual experiences. You may even have a moment of what you may call awakening. But Ravan will not go away just with that. It may become hyperactivated also. So are you willing to put your head at the guillotine for God? With no guarantees on the other side. And you can take a small thing, start with that, after scaring you so much. For example, Anandamayi Ma said, don't get angry. So start with that, that's my project. And trying to learn not to get angry. So start with that much for God. Don't tell a lie. Take something small, start with that. Then you can keep growing from there. But something that has a bit of bite, no? Not just, oh, I want peace, I. Step out of that comfort zone into Hanumanji said, you're not giving, you may feel like you're giving a lot, but you're not giving unless it pinches you at least a little bit. Yeah? So the charity that we're doing, the giving that we do, has to have some bite. No? If it doesn't matter, then it's not, how is it actually giving? So take on something, start like that, small. All these, you hear one satsang from any sage, and we are so blessed to have so many available, so many sages to hear on YouTube and things now. So you hear that and you say, yes, I can learn to try and apply some of this. In every satsang you get a tip. But are we hearing it that way? Like we must hear every satsang as if it is our first satsang. Somebody sends you, they said, this is really beautiful. Don't think that, oh, I've been in satsang so long, all that. Leave that. Listen as a beginner. That's what I try and do always. I don't know anything. This great sage is speaking and such beautiful words are coming. So he said this, he said that. Am I applying this? So no. So I have to start. That way your spirituality will continue to be alive. Otherwise your pride will take it up. If you hear satsang and you say, ये तो मुझे भी पता है, इसमें क्या है? Then you're not in the beginner mind. And Zen, they say the beginner mind. And then you miss these very small things.
Father, even the name of the sages, like even the name. So, if you would have not sent that Hanuman Podaji Maharaj. I would have looking at the name of him. I would have not listened to him. What is what? I never heard. Was slightly involved in politics. So much of judgment. So much of things. Unless
the first time on YouTube I came across Guruji Satsang, because I was hearing a lot of Papaji Satsang, and I came across his videos would come in the related videos. So I had so much pride, and I still do, but at least hopefully it's a little better. So I was just not clicking. I was saying, why do we need to listen to a Westerner? It's all Indian tradition anyway. You see, who is this man? You see? So something was just resisting. So the mind can find ways to resist so much. We were actually saying the opposite the other day on the Ramcharitamanas, which is lying here. He said Tikakar Hanuman Prasad Podarji. And I just read his name and I was feeling so much joy. I was feeling so happy. But some people have talked about this. They said with Goenkaji and Podarji, what happened is that in their time they had a lot of resistance. Because people were like, ye kya banya log humko kya batayenge, this. So this kind of nonsense was happening in those days. So prejudices, pride, all this plays out. The question is, Father, if we get annoyed with someone, what should we do? I don't know why this feeling of annoyance feels a little overwhelming than others. Yes. Thank God this time I don't judge myself about why did I do this, etc. Yes. no point beating yourself up about it. So it's good that you're not getting into that trap of the mind. What to do when you're really annoyed? No? You to just, whatever power you think you have, to try and remain with God in your heart. For those who've been in satsang for some time, I can say this simply, that remain empty and remain with God's presence in your heart. For others who may be new, try to, instead of going into the negative mode of thinking, try to do your prayer or try to do your inquiry, whatever pointer you may have heard in satsang, just to remain open and empty. Don't believe your next thought. Whatever has worked for you, try to use that to get you out of that mode of pride, resentment, arrogance. Because we may not realize that behind every resentment is some pride, actually. The idea that I deserve better, this should not be happening to me. So just stay with the tools that are provided in satsang, and it will still come. Like I said, I'm still working on my annoyance. I still get irritated quite often, actually, so I'm working on that. So we'll work on it together. Yeah. Okay, let's go to Georgie. How do we do this? We get the mic.
Hi, Father.
Hello. One second, my dear.
Hey.
This should work.
Hello.
Hello.
uh, um, you were saying to check, to check, I forgot the words that you used, but to check whether we are sacrificing and whether we're doing it for God, or you can hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear it a bit too much, so I'm telling them to put it down a bit on the speaker.
Oh, okay. I can turn it down here too.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So you said yes. Can you repeat?
I forgot the words, but you said you were talking about what we are sacrificing,
Yeah.
and whether we are doing it,
What are we risking for God?
or what are we risking for God.
Are you
And
risking your future? Are you risking your plans? Are you risking uh, some relationship, some financial benefit, some what is at stake? Because that distinguishes between a lip service surrender and an actual surrender, where we all know the best answer would be, I'm risking everything. All is God's will. I don't know where anything is going to go. You see? But sometimes in those broad generic statements, you see, it's like I've heard from a long time that, Father, my life is yours. Do what you wish. You see, I'm at your feet forever. Then I say, my child, can you give up on this anger or give up on this thing? And it can seem like an attack. But didn't you say your life is mine and all of that stuff? You see? So sometimes it becomes, when we make it very broad, it can seem easy to say. But when we look specifically, so what am I willing to risk for God? Then
is it true
Yeah.
Because I was trying to look at that. I feel like I needed some time to look at it. And the first thing that comes is that we can only determine that moment to moment. But at every moment, there's a chance to go with God and to go with the false.
Yeah.
And is it true if I say that to choose to go with God at that time is in a way to sacrifice the
Yeah.
other thing?
So let's take a simple example. What's your
Yeah.
favorite soft drink?
I don't like soft drinks. I'm
Okay, so
drinking
suppose,
mate.
huh?
That's something I like. This is an
Okay,
Argentinian
but
drink
suppose,
that I
okay,
like.
something funny is coming to me, so I'll say it. So, suppose you love frozen yogurt, huh?
Okay.
Froyo, frozen yogurt, you love it,
Okay. I
but
like
you
ice
have,
cream.
like, yeah, like almost like ice cream. So now what happens is because you're living in God's will, He never moves you towards a frozen yogurt shop. He's just not taking you there. You've not had your frozen yogurt fix for 6 months now. You see, and the mind tells
Okay.
you, what is happening? You had this amazing time every time you used to have froyo, and now you're just not having it. You see? So then, are you willing to say, yes, I can give up on frozen yogurt if God doesn't move me that way, if He doesn't guide me that way?
Right.
Yes. So that way we can start with the small, small things and see what is the boundary of our faith. Is it? So the spectrum is frozen yogurt to the Abrahamic story, isn't it? That's the entire spectrum of where this human condition can go, isn't it? So, so where are we on that spectrum? And you don't have to expose it. You don't have to tell us the answer. You don't have to this thing, but at least for yourself, we must learn that this is my boundary. I feel like if God guided me this way, that is what I would not follow. That is my point where I would not follow. And just keep keep your intention to go beyond that. Keep your intention to go beyond that. That becomes then your point of risk. At which point does it feel compelling to believe doubts about God? And in the lives of all the sages, when they were given the biggest tests and challenges, then the mind came and created doubts in their mind also. Are you sure you're listening to God? Are you sure there's even a God? Are you just fooling yourself? And because it is completely possible that we could be fooling ourselves, you see, that is why that risk is always alive. One second, my dear. We'll come back to Georgie.
Here, so whatever are my eye sacs for now, if I'm feeling like I'm following God's will, the mind says that if you're not, and if you're listening to the mind,
Yeah.
then you actually it will mess up. Like in the sense that it's like a different mess up than
Yeah,
I
it'll
don't know
mess
how
up
to
in
say
some
this.
way.
Like
It'll be a
it's a
mess up
mess
in
up.
some way. Suppose that your mind is tricking you to believing that it is God's voice.
It's what?
God's voice.
Yeah.
God is speaking to you because the mind is speaking very like authoritatively, like Akashwani or something like that.
So not even speaking, Father. Say it's just empty,
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
mind is proposing to do something about something, and I'm not following it, and it fools me sometimes. Like
of course.
you're not believing, you're not with God, and now it's going to mess up because you're not doing anything about it also, and you're not following God. Or some khichdi there,
That's exactly why it feels risky.
Yeah,
That
it's
is
very
exactly why it
risky.
feels
Yeah,
risky because Nanak ji did not say Hukum Rajai Chalna Nanak Likhe Naal. That Nanak ji has written that you must follow the will of God all the time, but just in case it's not available, then follow the mind. He did not said that disclaimer fine print. He said we must follow God's will come what may. You see? Now I have also reassured all of you that if truly your intention was to follow God's will and the mind has tricked you, has fooled you, then God will take care of that. God is not unkind, you see? So all will be taken care of as long as your intention was to follow God. But we must learn to not follow our own terms. You see, now, till it does not shift, our mindset doesn't shift from a sense of security coming from being able to do my will and God's will seeming insecure, to the only security coming from following God's will and my terms, my will seeming insecure. Till then we have not settled in our servitude to God. So we're learning, all of us are learning to settle. So right now God's will seem like a risk. You see? But we have to take that risk so that one day we'll come to a point where we deepen so much in following His light, His guidance, that the mind's way will sound not just like a risk but sheer stupidity actually. So how to follow God's will? I've told you that your heart compass is there, the light in your heart is there, and as you learn to live with that holy flame in your heart, then as you're taking steps in the wrong direction, you will start to see that light will start to seem diminished. It will start to seem diminished. So even if your mind is telling you that you were open and empty and it just came from God's will itself, you can tell from your inner heart temperature. You get a sense in your heart which way this is going.